This one is that 7 people are killed on average every year in Arlington County while walking, biking, or driving. 50% of annual traffic fatalities are bicyclists or pedestrians. A number of cities around the world have implemented something called Vision Zero, aiming to have 0 traffic fatalities, whether they're bikes, pedestrians, or drivers. Will you join Mayor Bowser's commitment to Vision Zero, to ending traffic deaths and serious injuries by 2024? And how will you do that? And this starts with Mike.
Well, I'm awful sorry to hear that 7 people are killed every year in the county for riding their bikes or walking. I know it's dangerous because I do ride my bike and I do walk a lot in the county. Lots of folks don't pay attention to traffic signals. They don't pay attention to bikers on the road. They don't pay attention to much on the road when some people are driving. So I'm awful sorry to hear that. I don't know much about the Mayor Bowser's vision, but I do know that 0 is a good place to be. Nobody should have to die going to work, riding their bike, or for recreational purposes, riding their bike or walking in the community, because that's just wrong. I know that the district has gone on a expansive mode of putting in bike lanes downtown that are cordoned off by states and so forth, and that may be something that we should probably think about in terms of protecting the bike rider. We need to also ensure that we have wide enough sidewalks in this county, because sidewalks widths are not nearly what they should be. And when we're looking at rebuilding places such as Columbia Pike and Lee Highway, we should think about the sidewalk and how big the sidewalk is, and how close it gets to the actual traffic in the road. So these are things that I'd like to see to have done, and I can flesh up some sure on the mayor's proposal, but I don't like the fact that people are being killed just for riding their bike and also walking on our streets.
Well, this is a subject near and dear to my heart because I'm a bike commuter. I don't own a car. I bike in metro or bus everywhere I go. So I'd like to relate an incident. I was attending the Knock Festival just a few weeks ago, and when I was done there, I decided to bike up to Columbia Pike and hop the 16 bus right down here and get off at 4 Mile Run, which I did. I deboarded the bus, took my bike off the bus, and I looked just ahead of me. There was a young white male who was down on the sidewalk. He had been hit by a car as he was crossing Columbia Pike. He had the light, but a driver ran a red light and hit him as he was just entering the street. So fortunately, I think he may have been seriously injured. He could not get up, but he was not killed. Okay, the police were on the scene almost immediately. I do have to credit Arlington Police. They were on the scene almost immediately. They took reports from everybody, including me. And a few weeks later, I got a call from the Arlington Police, the detective who wanted to know if I could help him get a photograph, identify the bus that probably photographed the hit-and-run vehicle. I gave him my smart card number. He could therefore trace the bus. And if that bus took a picture of that vehicle, the crime may have been solved. I don't know. But I want to say that I was happy I could help the Arlington Police. I was even more gratified to hear from an Arlington detective. And so you know that if I'm elected, I'm going to be a big booster of the Arlington Police.
I'm only familiar with Mayor Bowser's plan in the broadest. I'm only familiar with our plan in the broadest of terms. But as I've thought about this, I've had the unfortunate experience in my life of witnessing 2 fatal accidents involving pedestrians and vehicles, one a bus, one a car, one in DC, one in Arlington. And there are a few things that I think we need to do in order to realize any kind of vision that looks to have a serious impact in making sure this is the rare exception. One, as I think about it, most of us, when we were 16, 17, or 18, we took a driver's education class, we got a license, and that's the extent of our driver's education. In terms of pedestrian bicycling education, there's usually really nothing formal at all. In a place like Arlington that's continuing to evolve and innovate and trying to blend and bring all of them together harmoniously, there needs to be thought as to how we are going to educate everyone as to how this is going to work. But then it's beyond just personal responsibility. We've got to make serious investments to make this work. The one that I witnessed on Columbia Pike was largely due, in fact, due in part to the fact that there was poor lighting on the street, and the car just simply couldn't see a pedestrian late at night. The bus issue was due to the fact that the crosswalk wasn't wide enough, and there was hesitation as to what would happen at the crosswalk, who had the right of way, who was doing what. And we see this all throughout our county. I mean, we've been an innovator and a leader in doing great things through the planning process, like breaking up super blocks so we don't encourage people to cross in the middle of the street. But look throughout Arlington, there's still lots of room for us to do better. And also to make sure that people understand the virtue of crosswalks, not just for traffic management, but for pedestrian safety.
Too powerful.
So I think to echo what others have said, it is about infrastructure and it is about education. With respect to infrastructure, it's the basic principles, understanding that wider roads increase speeds, that we need opportunities and need to learn from pilots that we've had throughout the project, such as Wilson Boulevard, to think about how we create striping and other organization of roads that enable more sharing and safer sharing. We know that when bicyclists feel safer, pedestrians feel safer as well. And so infrastructure matters. As others have said, education matters. I think Arlington's gone a long way with the Predictable Alert Lawful PAL program, which has, I think, sort of disseminated and gotten into some folks' brains, especially those who do participate in biking and walking. But what it means to be predictable, alert, and lawful is going to change as we think more holistically about our transportation infrastructure. As we have different kinds of signaling lights, for example. And so this is a continuous engagement with the community and making sure that we all know how we can best respect and serve the needs of folks, frankly, sharing the road with one another. The last piece, and this has been something that surfaced to me by bike advocates in the community, is justice. It is enforcement. Sometimes when we see cars behaving dangerously, parking in bike lanes, or too close to bikers, we do sort of treat it as a subject of mirth. I know there's a sort of dark humor that exists in the bike community around seeing infractions of that, but really starting to see that these are profoundly dangerous behaviors, and that it does become incumbent on the police department to help us enforce so that we can truly get to a goal of 0 lives lost as we learn to share our streets with one another.